Hi there, and welcome to episode number 7 of the 2 Goal Lead podcast presented by BCHL Network. My name is Brian Wiebe. I'm the owner and editor-in-chief of BCHL Network, and I am feeling much better in comparison to when I recorded episode number 6 of the podcast. Turns out that I had COVID, but I am feeling much better now. I also want to really give a sincere thank you. I know that I say this all the time when it comes to the podcast, but recently we crossed over the 100 listen plateau, and I really have to thank you for that. I appreciate you tuning in here to the 2 Goal Lead podcast presented by BCHL Network. The other thing I have to mention is that recently I was up in Merritt to watch the Centennials take on the Penticton Vees. It was an outstanding game for the Vees. Merritt looked like a scrappy bunch, but it was great to be in the rink in Merritt, the Nicola Valley Memorial Arena, to watch the game. And the Vees, well, they are as advertised. The record definitely dictates how good that Penticton team is. And it will be interesting to see how they do as things get closer and closer to the Fred Page Cup playoffs here in the BC Hockey League. Also, Bradley Nadeau, as advertised, and it's likely that we'll hear his name called in the first 32 picks in this June's NHL draft, and if not, then very early in the second round, I would think. That's where Central Scouting has him ranked. Right about now, we'll see if the NHL teams end up agreeing. All right, let's get to today's episode of the 2 Goal Lead podcast presented by BCHL Network. Our guest this time is a defender from the Cranbrook Bucks. He's from Red Deer, Alberta, a 2002-born commit of the Lake Superior State University Lakers. He heads there this fall. It is Cam Kungle from the Bucks Blue Line. Cam, thanks so much for taking the time to join us here on the 2 Goal Lead podcast presented by BCHL Network.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So in terms of the Bucks and where things are at right now, you've got a playoff spot booked, and there's a pretty wide gap between yourselves and the Penticton Vees. What's the focus on in these games to close out the regular season, knowing that your position is pretty much solidified?
Just kind of our coach has been going by this fourth quarter mindset. You know, we've got to keep going and solidify that second spot. We're in it right now. We're up a bit on third, but just like being up there close to Penticton, you know, finishing off strong and just, you know, getting ready for playoffs, you know. We want to get that Fred Page this year.
Now the Bucks are playing at an 833 clip on home ice, but only 591 on the road. Why do you think there's been such a big discrepancy between the two?
Yeah, that's something. Well, I mean, playing in front of our home crowd, you know, it's been awesome, but it's something we just got to figure out. I don't know, just maybe not being ready for games as much, you know, our preparation before and just that kind of stuff. I think we got to figure out, and, you know, we got a few games left on the road here. We just figuring that out for the playoffs because, I mean, those games are going to be huge on the road.
Do you think that travel might play a role in it at all?
Possibly, but I don't know. A lot of teams have bad travel too, but it's just more, I think, our preparation, you know, going in each game, it's going to come down to us and how we handle it. So I know our travel is a bit long, you know, we look going to PG and maybe to the island, it's long trips, but I think it's just our preparation for sure.
So you talked a little bit about playing in front of the home fans there in Cranbrook. 833 is a pretty darn good clip on home ice too.
Yeah.
How much pride do you take as a team in making that home rink in Cranbrook a difficult place for the other team to come in and play?
Well, yeah, I mean, we want to right off our first face-off, we want to set the tempo in the game, and you know, we want to make it hard to play there. It wants to be a place where teams are coming. They're like, oh, geez, we're in Cranbrook here, you know. Like, this is going to be a tough one. Like, that's kind of something we've been trying to solidify throughout the year. And I mean, you look at it, I guess at 8.33, it's a pretty good record. So we just got to keep that up, and hopefully it's going to continue in the playoffs here.
Talking about the playoffs, that series against Prince George last year was the first postseason appearance in Bucks history. As a group, what did you learn from that series?
I think we just learned it's a battle, you know, like it was my first time going to the playoffs like that. It's, you know, 2 games on, 1 day off of travel. We're driving 12 hours back to Cranbrook. We're playing 2 games in a row. Then we're going back and forth. I think it's just your rest, you know, and just your preparation going into each game and how you handle it and just like what works for your body, I find, you know, because it's pretty tough doing that, you know, playing in especially PG smaller rink, you know, getting hit like that and everything. It's more just on your body and figuring out what works for you, I think.
Was it a learning process recognizing that the intensity ramps up during that time of the year?
Totally. I remember first game of the playoffs, I think I got cross-checked in the face or something, like, oh, geez, like, we're in this now. Like, I got to get ready to go. And then ever since then, it's just more tough, more hitting, you know, you got to give it back too. And that's something I've learned for sure, being my first time in the playoffs in the BCHL.
How much do the veteran players there in Cranbrook really impart to the newer guys that maybe didn't have that experience in the playoffs last year on what it's really like to win in the league during the postseason?
Yeah, no, they were good. We had some older guys on our team who have been through it, like Johnny Johnson and Liam Hansen. So they kind of showed us it a bit, but it's definitely more than I expected. Our coach tried to prepare us as much as he could. I mean, he's been through it all. He went to Yale there and played a bit in the East Coast, and he said he's like been on a winning team, and he just told us how it was done and things you have to do. And yeah, he was good with it. I think our coach helped us the most.
And now it's your turn to do that with the first year players with the Bucks this
Yeah,
season. So
absolutely.
not that you want to necessarily look ahead to the playoffs, but how much do you sort of emphasize to those guys on your team now that maybe haven't been through it before?
Oh yeah, I've been telling them, it's going to be a grind. You got to look after your body, and everything you're doing now is preparing yourself for the playoffs. You got to get in those right habits on the ice, off the ice, and just making sure you're crisp with everything. Playoffs are everything.
Are you treating the rest of the season like now to develop those good habits and treat these games like playoff games?
Absolutely. Our team, that's kind of our goal here, finishing it off, treat every game like it's a playoff game. We're in that second place spot here, but obviously want to get higher up. Penticton, they're a good team, but yeah, just solidifying that second and being better for sure.
Well, and also putting some space between yourselves and the Vernon Vipers too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You look through the third, fourth, and fifth, and even sixth spot, they're all tight. So never know what's going to happen. Who we're going to play, we just got to be ready for that opponent.
For you personally, you've surpassed your point totals from last season already in fewer games. What do you attribute to your increase in offensive output?
I find last year I was trying to overcomplicate things. I think this year I'm simplifying my game. See that first option, I'm just making the play and I'm not second guessing. I think that's helped me a lot with my game this year compared to last year. So I'm going to keep up with that. And simple game just makes you play good too. And I find it just gives you confidence to be better with other players too.
In looking at those point totals, I mean, someone can go look at your stats online from 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. This is the most points you've had in a season since that we can find anywhere online. So is this the most offensive season you've had from the blue line ever?
Honestly, I think it probably has been. I was looking at it too. I mean, I got a few goals this year and a few assists too, but I don't know. I just found what works and I've kind of been sticking to it. That's kind of something I've been doing.
Now, if you think back to 2020, you signed with the Bucks out of their rookie camp that year. Yeah. What was it about Cranbrook that was attractive to you to kickstart your junior hockey career?
For me, they were a new team coming in, and Cranbrook's the closest BC team to home for me. So I'm like, I want to go there and try to make that team. I think it's like 5.5 hours to home. So they were on my radar. Ryan reached out, and I went to the rookie camp and just had a successful one. And he's like, yeah, you got a spot here. And it's all been good since then. So I got lucky for sure. I couldn't be happier here with the coaching staff and the organization and the ownership. It's just been awesome.
Was that an eye-opening process going to that first camp for them in 2020?
Oh yeah, I was nervous, that's for sure. I went there and I was just like, I wonder what's going to happen. Like, if I don't go here, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, this is where I want to be. And just, it was definitely eye-opening, just the way they handle things and how unique Ryan is with things. And it was just good.
You don't have to name teams here, but were you on the radar of any Alberta Junior Hockey League teams?
There was a few, yes. I had a few teams that I could have went to. Like, there's a couple that were close to home there. So, but I wanted to go BC because I left my last year midget to go to Okanagan Hockey Academy because I wanted to find my way to the BCHL. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about that. You're coming off your 16-year-old season with the Red Deer CanPro U18 team. Following season, you end up in Penticton to play for the Okanagan Hockey Academy. Yeah. Was that the sole reasoning behind you moving to BC at 17 to play at OHA, was to make it into the BCHL?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to play in the BCHL, and I saw how many people got promoted from BC all to the NCAA. And I'm like, well, that's going to be the best option for me. My family and I talked about it, and we just decided that's would be the best thing for me, but to go do that. And I got lucky, coming here to OHA. It's a great program.
So going into your 17-year-old season there, you're away from home. How was that adjustment for you?
It was definitely an adjustment. First time moving home, parents were a bit sad, that's for sure. Mom was definitely the worst, but it was good. My billets welcomed me. The school was good, and I got to meet some new friends, and it was awesome. I got new billets which I still talk to, like new Billet brothers, and I'll still talk to them to this day. So yeah, they were awesome.
Do you think that taking yourself out of that your comfort zone, you're away from Red Deer, you're away from family and friends, did that help grow your game at all?
Maybe it's like picking habits. I find like I was maybe at home wouldn't be the best habits, but then coming here, like there was morning skates where I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go to those. So I'd go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'd go shoot on goalies to practice my game, and then we'd go to school. Then we'd have practice and a workout. So I was like taking in as much as I could, and it helped me for sure throughout the year. And I guess it worked out in the end.
I think maybe where you're kind of going with that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the idea that your sole focus was hockey.
Absolutely, yeah, it was. Like I would say, back at home, you're practicing that year before I was 2 days a week. And then maybe we'd have like a team workout. I came here and it was 5 days a week with workout and skills every day. And I was sometimes skating 2 times a day. So really main focus has been hockey since I would say my last year midget. And it's been the same here in the BCHL.
So you've served as an alternate captain for the Bucks for the last 3 seasons. It's not usually the norm to see a rookie player get a letter on their jersey like you did during that pod season in Penticton. What did it mean to you that Bucks head coach Ryan Donald and his staff saw fit to put that A on your jersey that season?
I mean, I was super happy to get it and I was honored to wear it for the team. But, there was another good guy, Reese Bentham. He's been there and I kind of learned from him, I would say. And another guy, Briggs Gamble. He was our first ever captain. And I learned how he would handle himself through things and how he was with people. And then just work ethic, keep working, He came in, I was maybe a guy in or out of the lineup, and I just kept going at it, and it worked out in the end, which Ryan likes, I guess.
Well, and I know it changed things. Obviously, there were some defections from the team with the COVID impacted season and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you weren't initially one of the players that got an A out of that first camp, but as things went along, there were some players that went to other leagues and stuff like that. What was it like playing that first season of junior hockey for you in that pod with the Vees and the Trail Smoke Eaters?
It was crazy. And as funny as you say that, I'm actually at the Lakeside Resort where I lived for 40 days in that pod season. So I'm here right now, but it was just walking to the rink, practice the game every second day. It was like you're playing pro hockey and you look at the NHL, they're playing every second day and travel and stuff. It was just like that, play a game, then you go back to the hotel the next day, you're looking after your body that day and then game. It kind of showed you how it was, but it was definitely an eye awakening for me coming the first year playing, especially two top teams like Trail and Penticton.
I mean, obviously the situation with the pandemic wasn't a good thing, but is sort of that focus again on hockey. Is that the silver lining that you take away from that and the intensity that it was?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, came in there and we didn't play games since, what was it, October or something. It shut down. And we just kept waiting and waiting for announcements. And then finally hearing that, everyone got super excited. We went into our 2-week quarantine and then came in and we were just pumped. I know we didn't do the best, but it was just good to get some games under our belt for the following year.
Did you stay in Cranbrook that whole time?
Yeah, the whole time. I went home for Christmas for, I think, maybe 10 to 12 days. And then we were there practicing Monday to Saturday, Sundays off all year. So I've definitely had my fair share of practice there. That was a hard year for sure, and a lot of battle and compete with guys on our team.
It was nice to finally get some opponents in Trail.
Oh, was it ever? It was so nice instead of playing guys in your team. And I mean, then more COVID stuff would happen and then be a couple guys on the ice. Oh yeah, it was
you scored the first game-winning goal in Bucks franchise history in that pod. How special is it for you to have your name etched in the team's history like that?
I mean, it's awesome. I look at it. This program is going to be, I think, a high-end program in the league here years to come from our ownership and everything. But yeah, just having my name there, it's awesome. It's something to look back at for sure. But yeah, no, just awesome.
Later this year, you're heading off to Lake Superior State University to start your NCAA Div 1 hockey career in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. What was the driving force for you behind choosing LSSU?
Just kind of the way they communicate with you. I find communication's huge, and just the way they teach their players, and they've moved on players too. And I think that's good. You want to go somewhere where it's a good fit for you, and the way they talk to you and handle it with you, where you're really liked, which I find, because you'll get opportunity. And I think I'll have the best opportunity going there for years to come. And then hopefully move on from there. So yeah, it was just a good fit.
Have you had a chance to check out the campus? Did you get to go?
No, I didn't get to go down. It was it was right after the showcase and we had games and everything. There wasn't a good time and I had to kind of make decisions there. So it was just the best thing for me. And they were awesome. I mean, the head coach there, Damon Whitman, and their assistant coaches, they were just really good with me.
So what facets of your game do you think you need to work on the most to make a successful jump from junior to the NCAA?
For me, I think it's just my skating and maybe my strength. You know, you look at those guys now, they're like men out there compared to the BCHL. So I think just like strength and speed is kind of going to be the biggest thing for me. I'd say so.
How often do you communicate with the coaches there? Are they watching tape on you and stuff like that to sort of help you prepare for what's coming up this fall?
Yeah, they'll watch games, let me know what's going on, and like they'll text me after, say I score a goal or something, like game winning goal, big win, like, which is awesome. And I'll send them a text too when I see if they get a big win. So it's just been good, which I'm happy about. You know, couldn't be happier going there.
Growing up, were there any NHL players who you tried to model your game after?
I like Victor Hedman. I don't know, I've always had a thing for him. Bigger D-man on the blue line there. I think he plays a two-way game, which I like. And yeah, I've always liked him.
So being from Red Deer, you're right smack dab between Edmonton and Calgary. Are you a Flames fan or an Oilers fan?
Oilers all day. Don't like the Flames at all.
All right, there you go. Couple of last ones to leave off here. What's your favorite BCHL road rink to play in and why?
I'd say West K. I really like their ice. I don't know. Just always like their ice, and I seem to have good games there.
Something about that arena built into the mountainside.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. So Royal LePage Place in West Kelowna.
Yeah.
What's the toughest BCHL road arena to play in?
I think Prince George or Wenatchee. I don't know. I've seen something about Wenatchee. I think it's their lighting, or I don't know, but in PG, it's their little rink, and they play a tough game. So we haven't had some good games in PG either. But if I have to pick one, I'm going Prince George for myself.
And is it just because of that small ice? It's a barn?
Yeah, and just the way they play their game. They play a tough physical game in there, so they're on you all night. And I mean, they chip a puck and they're finishing checks all day. Play a good style of game, but yeah, I'd say PG for sure.
All right, great stuff, Cam. Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to join us here on the 2 Goal Lead podcast presented by BCHL Network.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
It's been fantastic to chat with Cam Kungle, defender for the Cranbrook Bucks. He's off to Lake Superior State University this fall and look forward to following his career as he makes his way through the NCAA Division I ranks and whatever comes after that, maybe turns pro. Cam Kungle from the Cranbrook Bucks. All right, that'll do it for this week's episode of the 2 Goal Lead podcast presented by BCHL Network. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and want to remind you that you can like, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. There's lots of places embedded right there on bchlnetwork.ca. And do check out the new articles. Our writers have been pumping out some pretty good stuff over the last little while. Well, let's be honest, they always do, at least in my humble opinion. So do check it out at bchlnetwork.ca or bchlnetwork.com, whichever you prefer. Either one will take you to the right place. All right, that'll do it for episode 7 of the 2 Goal Lead podcast presented by BCHL Network. My name is Brian Wiebe, owner and editor-in-chief of BCHL Network. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.